The number of confirmed deaths has passed 200. The governor has called a state of emergency.
Hundreds and hundreds of bodies.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Last of Us Survivor Difficulty video walkthrough. We're still in Pittsburgh. This is Escape the City, sorry. Before anybody comments, yes, my chair is squeaky. I get the cheapest fucking computer chair you could physically want to buy. And it never lasts, and I'm always stunned that it never lasts, and I cannot wait until I'm moving out into my own space so I can put down some real money on a chair that will not essentially kill itself before it serves its full purpose. But that aside, we are back in the hands of Joel. We are exploring, we are looting, we are picking up an upgrade just then which I didn't quite read. And we're now joined by two other survivors. I don't remember the names of them, guys, I do apologise. But it's another guy and another kid, so there's some interesting dialogue coming, there's some interesting moments coming, and this is a particularly fun part of the game because you haven't really had this kind of interactivity yet. Because there's still the margin of distrust, there's still a margin of, you know, the unknown, and it really adds to just the diversity that you're going to find when you play this game. And you might be wondering what kind of adult points a loaded weapon at children. Well, it's an impatient adult who wants them to move the fuck on. Because sometimes it takes forever to navigate areas when you're with other NPCs because they like to walk and you want to run and then they block you, and it's an interesting situation. But once you enter into the toy store, there is a little vignette there, a little cutscene with the tank, or the armoured, the APC, and I've trimmed it out for brevity's sake. This place has almost nothing to pillage, but there is a Jack and Daxter, I think it's a board game. So it's a nice little throwback to the games that Naughty Dog's made back on the PS2, which at this moment in time feels like a long time ago, when you consider that we're on the eve of the PS4 being released. Even though there's no release date yet, people are thinking December, which I think is foolish. I think they should drop the same day as Microsoft, I really do. Or if anything, drop first, because, you know, being first means a hell of a lot in the console race, it really does. And if you don't have any idea why I say that, just look at this generation. You know, Microsoft were first, they got a foothold, and it took Sony a very long time to catch them. And it sucks, it really does, because we need the competition, we don't want to whitewash. And that's why it's really interesting to see everybody like, oh, PlayStation 4 is the future, Xbox One is completely failed on a fundamental level. And I think both companies have done bad things. I think both companies have promised and what have you. Xbox One has done more things that I think rub the game the wrong way, but I do believe that they have services and features that Sony's platform just will not have to the same fidelity. So I don't think the console war is over yet. I made a tweet kind of inciting a bit of a riot, but it's one of those things where console wars aren't over until the next consoles come out. Like, there's still a console war on between PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 because they are still competing in the same market. And a lot of people like to just assume that, you know, it's already been played out, the result is obvious, and it really isn't, because we haven't seen games, we haven't seen releases, we haven't seen numbers yet. Well, I tell a lie, actually, there are numbers of pre-orders, and if you're wondering, Sony has more pre-orders than Xbox, which, you know, for the price difference, you can understand why. But I'm not going to talk too much E3, guys, because I do have a series coming where I cover my E3 experience, and by that I mean, I didn't go, I just sat at home watching the damn thing for far too long. But after that little firefight, when you climb up here, there's going to be two more guys that spawn. And the AI on these guys seems kind of weird. Because when I first played, I ran up to this wall and they both dropped down after me and I beat them to death with a bat. But this time, it's almost like I beat the spawn so they don't know we're here. So instead I have to climb up and I have to risk getting shot to initiate any kind of combat. But that's what makes it fun when you realise that shit's not going your way. As you can see, I'm trying to use the camera to my advantage. It ain't really helping. There's one guy there, I can see his head. So I climb up, that guy gets stunned, he gets shotgunned, other guy gets buckshot to the chest, and hopefully that dude with his pistol can finish him off. But this is where you notice that the AI is really weird. Like, they can't have them killing everything, because then what's the point in you playing? But at the same time, they turn this into a circus of just kill the guy already. Man, like, how many bullets does he take from your pistol? It's very, very silly. But that fight was a success, because we got some more ammunition for another weapon, and the more weapons that you have loaded, the safer you're going to be. And if you're doing this without using the guns, which it's possible, but it's difficult because you have to get really good at fighting, or you have to know where every brick is, because it's the only way you're going to stand a chance. You probably don't have to worry too much about ammunition, but for everybody else, ammunition is going to be the deciding factor here. And I've seen a lot of people mention in the comments so far that they want to wait until they play New Game Plus to do Survivor mode, because they think it's going to give them an advantage. And the first thing I have to mention to people that don't seem to be aware of this is you can only do New Game Plus on a difficulty you have beat. So you can't do New Game Plus on Survivor unless you've beaten Survivor. So, you know, you're kind of wasting your own time if you think that's going to have an effect. And secondly, the only things that you get in New Game Plus are Joel's upgrades. The upgrades to the weapons and the upgrades to himself. And neither of those two upgrade paths are going to make all that much difference to this game. None of them make you inherently stronger. One path will make you harder to kill, but on this difficulty you're quite easy to kill anyway. You know, none of them are going to make any of it much more easier than it is. You've just got to play it and hopefully do well. And if you start struggling, luckily enough there is a walkthrough on YouTube by a guy I happen to know who can help you get through it. So that's how I look at it. But I do think New Game Plus is an interesting situation in a post-Dark Souls world, or a post-Demon Souls world I should say, because Demon Souls was the first to do it. Like, when I saw New Game Plus on The Last of Us, I immediately thought, that is awesome. But I was thinking about it from a Souls game perspective, you know. From Software changed the game of how New Game Plus works. They really did. They implemented some interesting ideas that mixed up the gameplay. And sure, to a lot of people, they don't really care. To other people, they didn't mix it up enough. But the resounding fact is, New Game Plus is not the same game as New Game. And that's what makes it interesting, that's what gives it replay value. That is why From Software are geniuses in my mind. And this game doesn't convey any of the things that have changed in the industry. The new game on this is literally the new game we've had forever, only lesser so. And that kind of makes it a little bit sad. This sequence here, guys, you can stealth it up to the generator, but then post-generator you have to kill people. So I got so impatient with this sequence, having to do it over and over again, I decided to go loud and shoot people, and I had a lot of success with it. But in this run, you're going to see me do two terrible napalm throws. Napalm, wrong word. Molotov cocktail throws. And it completely ruins the fight. But the cool thing is, in retrospect, you're going to see where I go wrong, you're going to see where the enemies are, and you're going to see where I should have thrown them. So, learn from my mistakes, please, and hopefully you will get through this with even more ease than I do. This first sequence here, be careful of the spotlight. There's a couple of preset moments here where they spot a clicker and they start shooting at it, but the only thing you really need to know is there are two guys up on that where the spotlight is. The guy on the spotlight is a Molotov guy, the guy next to him has a rifle, and there is one more dude in front of them on the ground level who is patrolling. And you can take out the guy on the ground without anybody seeing you because they're both blind. So that's useful. And then from there we're just going to go onwards and upwards and so on and so forth. But back to what I was saying. I'm happy that in this game you can't use New Game Plus to cheese the hardest difficulty, because it means that people have to earn it, and even though it doesn't make that much of a difference, just the fact that you're coming into it fresh means that you're on the same level as everybody else and you've done the same challenge as everybody else, and I think that's much more rewarding. On that same note though, I do think that a New Game Plus that is limited to the difficulties that you haven't, that you've beaten, definitely limits it as far as not necessarily a casual market is concerned, but people who want to just play on normal and then New Game Plus whatever they want, they don't want to have to play the game again to get the New Game Plus option. And especially if it's somebody who's curious to see what changes, and then they play it, they do all that time to get it, and then they realise nothing changes. The game is not any more difficult, there are not more enemies, nothing is different, and I think that is kind of sad. But make sure you walk slowly, or you crouch slowly up to this guy, or he will spin around, and you're going to get a face full of Texas. But take him out. And what the game wants you to do here is the game wants you to stop the generator to turn the light off, and that lures all the guys down. And you could probably throw a Molotov when they've all associated around the generator and kill them. But I shot the guy on the light, and because he's a Molotov dude, he blew up and killed the people around him. And the fire on the ground killed the people who was running towards me after that. And this time, he didn't blow up, so I had to throw my own Molotovs. And the first one there I thought was spot on, but if you listen, I didn't kill anything. You know, as Poncho says, we hit nothing. Like, nothing died. So I throw the other one, and the second throw is terrible. So I've just wasted 2 of the most precious and useful items on the game, and there are still about 5 guys left to kill. I do not have the ammo to go toe-to-toe with these guys, because it's just not intelligent. But it's something that has to happen, because I fucked up. But 4 shotgun shells, I do have the ammo, actually. It's just, it's not paramount. So there's the first shot. That alerts everybody else, and they drop down. So the first guy drops down. I hit him with, oh, I miss my shot, because I'm trying to do things fast. That was terrible, but you notice I could throw a Molotov here and kill both these guys. I don't know what happened then. The game just went to Disneyland. 2 people just died. There's another guy to our right flanking around. Luckily enough, the AI has been super useful here because they're shooting 2. They're being a distraction. Another guy just turned up. That's 2 of them. He has a rifle. Other guy's carrying something in 2 hands. It is not his penis, so it has to be a rifle of some sort. This guy's coming towards me. He's about to get... Oh, I hate that. And I haven't mentioned it either, so I should really talk about it. The melee on this game has a very strange detection. There are moments where Joel will magnetically dash like a commando knife from Modern Warfare 2 into a guy to kill him, and then there are times when he does not. That what you saw just then, as I was, waiting for him to get on the corner of the car and press square to smack him in the face, Joel missed him completely. And then I took damage because of the game's error. And you might say, well, you weren't in a good enough position to do so, but this game is very animation heavy. And it's one of those things where the game takes a step towards people to strike them. I assumed I was in a position where that would pay off. It didn't. So always be aware of the limitations of the system and always be conscious that the melee can sometimes fuck you over. And I don't like using it for that reason. It's interesting, but there goes that guy. There goes the sound telling you there's a bit more talking from the NPC, which tells you that you've done the area, so reload your guns and get ready to go through the next gate. And just kick yourself and kick Naughty Dog that they didn't allow you to stealth through this section. This would have been the perfect environment to do stealth, and once again there was a mandatory fight that I just don't get it. Like, in Uncharted 3, there were sections where you could stealth, it was an option, or you could fight. And the stealth was usually the tougher option, but the easiest in the end. And I just don't understand giving you the option or giving you the perception that you can stealth something only to hit a brick wall of combat. It seems really weird. And I would love to talk to somebody who had some kind of creative input on this game, just about the development process, about some of the design decisions. And I think I'm going to start reaching out to people on Twitter, because if anybody follows me on Twitter, which you should all do really if you're interested in the channel, and that's not me trying to sell myself or big myself up, it's just I share things that don't appear in the video on my Twitter feed. And I keep you updated on where I am on the production of the guides and things, and it's an important resource. It's also a great way to know when I'm streaming and to try and game with me if I'm setting up some kind of lobby situation. But I got approached by the guy. He's a form of media. I don't know exactly who. I do apologise to him at this moment in time. But he was the person who beat the Mirror Knight on the Dark Souls 2 demo at E3, which is pretty big news to me. To me as a Dark Souls fan and curious about Dark Souls 2, the fact that the guy who was the only person out of, I think, the press to beat that boss is pretty fucking cool. There's a couple of guys in this room, by the way, folks, so if you think it's empty, they're probably hiding, because I think there's 2 more of them and they're pretty sneaky, so just be careful. But he approached me. I joked at him and said, you know, show me pictures of the t-shirt or get the fuck out, because anybody can say anything on the internet. And he was a nice guy about it, and when I looked deeper into it, he was the person who did it. So I said I would love to pick your brain on a tweet to the guy, and he said, what do you want to know? So I threw out casually an option of, you know, giving him some questions or hooking up with him on Skype and having a conversation and what have you. And he says, just hit me up on Skype sometime and we'll get this shit done. So I'm going to hopefully get an interview with the guy over Skype. It's going to be as, you know, just as relaxed and leisure as I can make it. And I'm going to give him some Dark Souls 2 questions from his experience with it, some stuff on the build, go into a little bit of detail. And it should make for a pretty cool video that I'm going to put up, doing some Dark Souls 2 content from someone who's played it, because I haven't played it. And as much as I like to think that I can give you good information, I can't give you good information on a game I haven't played. And it's inspired me to want to do 1,000,001 things involving devs, involving people who have media contacts, just more networking and a different voice on my channel than mine, you know, that's not a dual com situation. And I think it could be cool. It's just I don't really know how to go about it, and you know, people probably get a lot of requests. So it's something I'm going to build on, I'm going to work on, and hopefully we'll be able to get some professional people in an interview situation, even if it's over Skype, where we can learn some information, we can get some news, we can get some scoops, even if it's the stuff nobody cares about, but I do. And I think that is definitely a good direction for the channel, and I think it's definitely an interesting piece of content, because if you're anything like me, you're hungry for games, you're hungry for knowledge, you're hungry for the information on them, and I just find it really exciting. The period before a game comes out where the knowledge is scarce, the knowledge that they give you is extremely doctored, and the prospect of being able to talk to somebody who doesn't have to perhaps hold their tongue or who isn't embargoed when it comes to the stuff that they noticed personally, I think that's great. But all that needs to be done here, guys, is run down this road, this highway. You don't have to worry about damage. It's one of those scripted sequences where I don't think you can die. Maybe if you dilly-dally and you let it get close to you, it automatically kills you in a fail state. But as it stands, I've never died on this moment, and nor should you. So thanks for watching, and you take care.